última geração de
The last mobile telecommunication generation is changing the way we work, the way we live, and the speed and reliability. Speed and reliability are two of the main 5G features. From health to the industry. There's a new world to be explored. And to analyze this subject, I will ask Juan Oliveira, CEO of Ericsson Portugal, to speak to us about the subject.
Agora. Olá, bom dia a todos.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, APDC, Rogério, Sandra. It's a pleasure to be able to address you. I'm going to try to make this presentation in Portuguese. And so maybe we'll need a bit more imagination. Just a few minutes to speak to you about where we stand when we speak about 5G, where we stand, and why is it important, strategic for Europe, and what are the decisions that we believe should be made. Now, where do we stand? It's a map, a photo where each green dot represents a technological 5G network. Some geographies, such as China, India, and the US, that look good. Europe, and in Europe we have room, especially in the south of Europe. And why are we addressing this topic? This is a comparison of different technology implementation since their launch during 4 years. 3G. Europe was the third economy launching 3G, only after economies with a relevant technological tradition like Japan and Korea. So 4G, Europe was the fifth economy to launch 4G and was surpassed by the US. Now, 5G, after 4 years, we're the seventh or eighth economy, and also surpassed by Australia with now a technological tradition, and surpassed by other economies like China and India. And let me share with you a comparison in terms of 5G penetration. So in Portugal, we have a limited penetration, very low penetration of 20%. It's true, we have a good performance. The network is good. And now, knowing where we stand, why is it important? Why are we talking about the subject? Why? 4G was the generation that did so through smartphones and mobile networks. It was the adoption, a comparison with the American economy that can be compared in terms of population size, a free market macroeconomic structure. So for 4G in 2014, penetration in the States was 50%. In Europe, it was 23%. In the worst case, it was 4%, because this is another problem that we need to face due to the structure of the member states, due to their structures. When 4G was launched, a new economy was created based on startups that started in the States, as you know, and was multiplied by 8 in recent years. For 2020, the startup ecosystem in the States was 12 billion versus 2 billion in Europe, with the only exception of Spotify. And Sweden was the first economy in Europe to implement 4G, Sweden. And why is this relevant? It's relevant because it impacts the citizens and us. There's an impact. The GDP per capita evolution, I know there are other factors, but the weight of the digital economy is quite relevant in the States. It's very important. It grew 27% in the last 10 years. Europe, 5%. So there are 32 points of difference. There's a real link between the sectors development. What happens with citizens is very important. We're speaking about job opportunity, about growth, about per capita, income per capita. But with 5G, this is going to be worse. And why worse? Because 5G is endless. The transformational power is huge. And there are some references for estimated return on investment, manufacturing, mining, ports, utilities. But not only for the industry, we're speaking about things that are important to the citizen. We're speaking about public safety, education, healthcare, sustainability. We're speaking about closing the digital divide. We're speaking about things which are very important to everyone. And also, we think that with 5G, we think that we'll create with 5G endless new user cases. And it's very important for these cases to be created in Europe, these end user cases. And these end user cases will be created because we will have models allowing to go exponentially. Operators will have their capabilities exposure, while developers will direct capabilities to the final customer, B2C. This is already happening. It's a commercial launch in Brazil, already in Brazil, Germany, and Spain, and this is happening. And Ericsson also participate. We have a platform. The more relevant, it's the most relevant acquisition for the group. And now why? And now that we know that it's why it's important, but why is it as such? Why speak so much about the subject and nothing changes? It's simple because operators have no scale. In Europe, we have 45 operators with more than 500 subscribers versus 8 in the States and 4 in Japan and 3 in South Korea. When we take a look at the average customer base in Europe, 3.7 million, 30. We see how different it is in the States and other countries. Nor am I going to speak about India or Indonesia with 300, 400 million subscriber per operator. And this shows the 20th largest 7% represents 7% with a capital cost between 9 and 12%. It means that if nothing is done, it will die because scale is critical in a business. Scale is required to invest. And I'm sure that CEOs and others will speak about what is required. And this also has an impact on the inhabitants, citizens, because when we take a look at the capex per population, we see that Europe, largest number of inhabitants, lose economy of scale. Notwithstanding our economies and Japan, South Korea, it's 1.6 investment per inhabitant, and 3 times more. And now I still have 1 minute, says the speaker. So in constructive terms, what can we do? We believe that regulation should be amended. We cannot live with a regulation that was designed 30 years ago to break monopolies. Operators require scale to be able to compete, to innovate, to be relevant. And it's not Ericsson or Juan Oliveira. 2 weeks ago, we heard how important the single market is, competitiveness. 3 strategic sectors were also mentioned: finance, energy, and telecommunications. And also the CEO of Telefonica, CEO said we have rules. We have old rules for a new market. So what else can we do? In Portugal, we need to implement a public-private collaboration plan. It's important. If not, we're going to be left behind. In Spain, 1.5 billion euros for 5G. In Spain, in 2 or 3 years, we'll be the leader to implement the 5G standalone. So we also have to move forward, such as this in Portugal. I've mentioned digital services like Open Gateway, and to make Portugal and Europe more competitive, and to improve the Portuguese and European citizens' life. Thank you.